Hi guys, good afternoon. We welcome you to the webinar for how to ace the market during these tough times by Krati. We welcome you all, and we hope this webinar and the insights and the discussions what we have during this webinars help all of us to accelerate the business recovery, especially the online commerce players and the online commerce business partners going ahead, right? So moving ahead, I'll be introducing the presenters and myself. I am Ashwini Kumar Das. I look after the business operations at Krati. I have Krati Gupta as a co-presenter with me today. Welcome, Krati, who heads the client operations with us. And I have Deepak today with us. Welcome, Deepak. Looking forward to your insights on SEO. Deepak helps us with the SEO operations at Krati. Okay, so just quickly before we start the webinar for today, we would like to run you through the agenda for today. We have divided the agenda in 3 sections. First, audience and communication strategies, which will be covered by me, and paid media strategies, which will Krati will be helping us with the insights and the strategies part over there. And Deepak will be sharing his experience and his insights on the SEO strategy section with us. Post sections, we definitely have a specifically Q&A section where we will be looking forward to answer the questions, and we would welcome all of you to post the questions during the entire webinar or the entire session, which we will address during the Q&A. Okay, coming to the first session, section on audience and communication. Okay, yeah. So as we all know, this situation which is not which could never have been planned for, and there has been a lot of changes in the consumer behavior. There's a lot of disruption in the global economy has happened, and it has also altered consumers' expectations, habits, and purchasing behavior, which has resulted in new challenges for brands into supply chain, fulfillment of physical stores, and for employees and customers also of us, right? And we, as now, from here now, as we evolve for our digital strategies, be it short term in the next quarter or be it long term for the next years or two, we should be understanding these consumer behaviors in the pandemic situation which have evolved, right? And these should be a part of our strategies going forward, right? So with this current situation, we have identified the 5 important trends in the consumer behavior, how the shift has happened. So I would like to touch upon those points. First is consumers have started using multiple devices. When I say multiple devices, currently consumers are logged in from multiple devices, and the consumption of the multiple devices at same time has come in the scenario. Previously, there were used to be a lot of mobile consumption or the mobile device usage, which used to happen while commute, or be it to and fro from your work commutes, or if you are in over the weekends, or if you are at relaxed waiting somewhere. But now we see the desktop consumption has also expanded throughout the day, and also throughout the week, be it weekends or something. And mobile devices have also become more active during the working hours now. Second most important trait, where users are looking after the critical information. There's a lot of content consumption in terms of reading the news, reaching out, reading the blogs, reading the ways to keep, how to manage the current situation, what are the measures to taken, and how is the situation evolving. As a person, what should I be doing in this current scenario? So as a user, there's a lot of critical information which I'm searching. And these search trends have evolved a lot. As a third most point, which is definitely how the personal and the professional relationships have evolved in the current situation, being locked down to your own vicinity or to your own houses, we have started finding more ways to connect with our professional and the personal, be it colleagues or be our friends or family. We have started using more video apps. We have started looking more webinars or webcasts or how to upskill ourselves, right? So there's new virtual relations which are getting built. Then internet first routines. How our routines have evolved. As I said, in the multiple devices, there was a set pattern or a trend where user was waking up in the morning and following certain routine in the entire day, right? But those routines have changed. We have become more internet first routines now. If I used to go to a gym or if I used to go for a walk previously, now I'll log into the say yoga sessions or online health therapy sessions to make sure that I'm on the routine of my workouts. But it has become more internet first now. Coming to the final, and which is the most important trait for the user right now, which says practicing self-care. Consumers have started taking more measures into their self-care, right? And this helps us understanding with all the essential buys which are happening right now, with all the buys related to the masks, the sanitizers, the hand wash, the hygiene products, which have actually seen a rise in the current situation. So these are the 5 traits which we should definitely look at how the consumer behavior is shifted. In the coming next slide, we would be talking about what all. Okay, so in this slide, we would be talking about what are the tools which we should use, which we could use to analyze or keep track on the consumer behavior. As I mentioned previously also, right? As a brand, we should always be looking for insights to understand what's working and what not for us. So the tools like Google Trend, which is one of the most easily available tool and most effective tool presented by Google to all of us as a brand or a marketer, which helps us understand the search term analysis or the search behavior analysis of the user. What kind of searches are evolving in current situation? We could keep a trend analysis of the searches trending for the day, trending in our categories as a brand, in the day, in the week, or in country level, the searches are trending, right? This will help us understand the user search trend analysis. Moving ahead to the analytic tool, which helps us, right? So Google Analytics is again one of the most important tool. And this is one of the tools which is always used by all the businesses, and especially the online commerce businesses, for to be always on the top of the user website behavior analysis, or the website flow analysis, or the user funnel flow analysis. There are multiple analysis which we could do from Google Analytics, which as a brand or a marketer, which we have always been doing to make it a part of our, and use the learnings to make it a part of our marketing strategies as we move ahead. But in such times, still, if sometimes say a couple of weeks back when there was a complete lockdown, no delivery was happening, still there was a visit from the consumers happening on our websites, right? So those kind of analysis will help us understand in these times what pages user is visiting, what kind of content he is reading, where he is spending more of his sessions, more of his time, right? What are the durations have increased? What are the location level or the device level data insights which we could get from a for the user level at a website behavior level as well. Another thing, important thing, as we all know, and I have mentioned also in previously, that as a brand, we should listen more to our consumer feedbacks. We should be hearing them out. We always do, but these are the times where we need to listen, hear, and evolve fast. As a brand, we should always be on the top of the consumer feedback, and these times definitely to make sure that all the feedbacks are addressed, and it helps us to build more trust with our audience and our consumers, right? There are certain top of the mind ORM tools which we could think of, Radiant 6 by Salesforce, Uberview, or Reputation Defender, which are the most globally used tools. And these tools could be helpful to build us our online reputation management as well. Reputation as well. Coming to the, again, social media, we all know has been a more important part of digital marketing since over a decade now. And the way of communicating with our consumers and our audiences, and helps brands to create those communities. It helps us to create those communities, and because this is the time where everyone is looking for a community building and a community communication, right? So social media definitely, again, there are different types of social media platforms which we have, and there are a lot of video engagement platforms in social media, which helps us to create and pass out those communications in the forms of videos and keep our audience engaged. Moving ahead to the next slide, we would be talking about what kind of communication. So in our previous slides, we discussed about the consumer behavior. We discussed about what are the trends we should, or the tools we should use to be on the top of analyzing those behaviors. Now coming to the communication, what is the communication what communication helps us, right? So as a brand, we should always build the trust with the user. Previously, we always used to have a communication for the offer, for the festive, for the sale period, for a different period, right? Or if there's a new launch of any product or any service. This time, we should be reaching out with more of the communication related to zero contact delivery. The process is taken care, the thermal care process to make sure that our employees or our delivery boys are taken care of, so that impacts the end result in taking care of the audiences, right? We could have a section on the website, or we could create emailers in the communication, reaching out our audiences, saying that how clean we are, how hygienic we are, how we are keeping consumers' interest first in these times, right? Because these are the more of a serving time to our consumers than creating a cell connect with them. So we have discussed about behavior, we have discussed about analysis, we have discussed about communication. Now, in the next slide, which becomes more important, how to go beyond the communication, or how should I evolve my communication, right? How should I use all these things into my targeting? I'm sorry if anyone is facing any issues with, or we are facing certain technical or not able to show the images over here, but I'll just still summarize the slide. Okay, so here we would like to talk about, okay, great. So the slide is back. Okay, so when it comes to the targeting as a brand, and first and foremost, we need to understand the entire country is only divided into 3 zones right now: red, orange, and green, right? These are the 3 common zones which divides entire country, and it helps us to identify the how to reach out to our audiences or consumers, and within a certain guideline which is created by the government, and to make sure that we do follow that. So as a brand, I should be doing more of a location or a geofencing targeting, or you call it as a polygon targeting, where we should be able to reach out only to the consumers in the area where we are able to deliver to them, right? Because if I'm showing an ad in a certain area where I'm not able to deliver, it creates a distrust in the brand. It creates a distrust with the consumer. It creates that gap when consumer is expecting us to reach out. And the most important part, as a brand, I lose out on my ad spends, right? It's not a cost efficient way to reach out or to do advertisements in an area where I might not be able to deliver, right? So overall, polygon targeting will help us to reach out to the location and enable the brand to target only those consumers in the area or geos we are able to deliver to. Right? This would help in focus and relevant targeting to us. Moving ahead to the next slide, how to keep our audiences engaged in these times, right? We know that a lot of video consumption has increased. As a user, if I have to see my behavior or the people whom I interact with, and there's a lot of reports also online available on this. The video consumption has actually gone high in these times, right? And that is the way how we have evolved to consume the data. If I have to work on something, instead of reading, if I get to see a video about it, that helps me to consume the content more effectively. So there are a lot of tools available which are could be whitelisted. There are certain beta features available from Google which could get whitelisted. You could reach out to your advertisers to get them whitelisted for you with the Google, like Director Mix, Bumper Machine, or video builders, which could use the static images to create a video out of it. And then again, another way of creating email campaigns, or sharing the emailers with the communication about how we are, what should be done in these times, what we are, as a brand, we are taking care of, or if there's a plan of going live in certain areas, just keeping consumers informed and engaged. This should help us with engagement with the audiences. Okay. Just to sum it up to my part, how to stay away the current situation, right? I would like to take 3 takeaways from the points which we have discussed, and or I could call it as a 3 mantra right now, which could be taken as a road to recovery. Again, to emphasize, we all know, but still to emphasize again, the COVID-19 has changed life as we know it, right? And as we do everything, we can keep each other safe. Our routines have fundamentally shifted. It has changed completely when it comes to the routine of an individual. So the road to recovery lies in respond. One part, respond. As a brand, we should be responding. We should be redefining our brand principle, reassessing what as a brand we need today, right? And we should be talking to the consumers about that. We should be listening to the consumers to understand what they need, right? Second important part is rebuild. So in a rebuild, we should be preparing to capture a business in the dynamic demand or the dynamic way everything has evolved right now. Another important part in the rebuilding, as we know, in going ahead future trend of the consumer buyer, there will be a lot of shift from offline to online, which will happen. So this online shift, if as a brand, I have been keeping a priority of creating a one user funnel view in my creating one user funnel view in my list, let's bring it up on the top of the priority, because that will help us to create a user view where we could create multiple touch points and link between the offline and online. The top of the mind, again, a Google product which comes to my mind, which is a double click measurement tool, which helps us to create and assess multiple touch points of the user, and helps us with an effective media buy and a media planning as well. So rebuilding, then coming to recover. How do we recover from this as a brand, right? We should incorporate our learnings. We should be, whatever we have learned in the situation, whatever crisis we have faced in the situation, right? We have learned a lot, and these should be implemented in a short-term and long-term marketing strategies. We definitely don't wish to see any such situation or any such pandemic in another era but we should always plan for these, right? So these are the road to recovery: respond, rebuild, recover. Thanks to everyone. We would be looking forward to the questions in the Q&A, and I would like to hand it over to my colleague Krati, who will be taking us through the insights on the performance media mix. Thank you. Over to you, Krati. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Ashwini. That was quite informative. I think those 3 mantras and the polygon targeting which you spoke about are definitely some good takeaways for me. I'm sure all of you who are watching this webinar, you definitely have some good takeaways from what just Ashwini spoke about. Coming up next, I want to touch base upon what are the key elements you can look for in your media mix planning, some new platforms which are worth exploring and you can look at right now, and to sum it up, what kind of audience communication which we should be doing in these times. Video consumption has been increasing right now across the platforms, across the content platforms, video heavy platforms. Talking specifically about YouTube, we have seen that apart from people watching content more than what they were consuming. So one of the study reveals that earlier the users were watching around 1.5 hours per day. Right now they are on YouTube for around 4.5 hours per day. That's huge, right? And at the same time, the CPMs have gone down across the inventories on YouTube. So in one of the studies we were doing at Krati, what we realized that for one of the brands for a target group, earlier when we were doing a 15 to 20 seconders, the CPM was around 120 to 150 rupees. Right now, when we looked at for the same brand and for the same target group, this CPM has gone down to around a 60 to 75 rupees. That's huge, right? And this is not just for one of the industries. For majority of the industries, what we have seen that CPMs have gone down to around 20-25% to a huge 50%. And at the same time, the audiences are spending more time on YouTube. So that's a good chance for us to be there. Talking about the video heavy platforms, how can we forget mentioning TikTok, one of the Generation Z's favorite. And in these times, we have seen that not just a specific target group, multiple target groups across the geographies are there on TikTok and consuming content and even posting their own content. So both these platforms in together, they are giving us better CPMs, increased engagement rates as before. And yes, our strategy should be to build new user base right now across these video heavy platforms and engage and rebuild and retarget them later. When we're talking about the content consumption, apart from the video heavy platforms like of a YouTube, like of a TikTok, there are multiple just content specific platforms like of your multiple publishers, the Times Internet, and multiple websites. People are right now reading a lot of news, reading about the business recovery, reading about COVID updates on all these platforms. And this brings me to my next point that many advertisers in their media mix, they forget about native advertising. Maybe because that's not one of the important placements they want to look at. But right now, when we are working on our media mix planning, native advertising becomes an important element for us to bring to our media mix. When we're talking about content, TV becomes again an important part of our planning. We cannot forget about TV right now. One of the study revealed an interesting fact about TV right now. It revealed that right now the TV consumption has increased by around 40% as compared to the pre-COVID period. Interestingly, this increase is coming in the non-prime time. And you know what? This consumption is throughout all the 7 days of the week, and Monday, interestingly, has become the new Saturday. Right. So these consumer trends are changing even on TV, and we want to capture those changing trends and bring TV to our media mix. It's recommended that we should not let TV advertising happen alone in isolation. We can use tools like Zapper, which can give you insights about the audiences who are engaging with your ads on TV, your competitor ads, and create that entire information and use for digital ads in the later stages or maybe right now. For any advertiser, while media mix planning is a very important element, but it's incomplete if it's not supported by the right ad messaging. One of the study revealed that right now the email open rates across the industries have improved to a range of around 4 to 5%. This is not just restricted to emails, even SMS open rates have increased. That's just because of one of the reasons that right now the users, they're not that busy as compared to the pre-COVID periods. Another study which I was going through, it revealed that the customers are saying that when they are reached out by personalized messages, they are showing higher chances of becoming hooked and loyal to a brand. Which brings me to the point that right now, for all the advertisers and brands, email and SMS marketing with personalized message becomes a key input for their marketing. And you can use it to keep your audience updated about what kind of products you have, what's the status of your delivery right now, how your delivery boys are prepared to deliver all the products to you, and in how many days they are available for you to deliver the products. I spoke about the new audiences which we can reach out, the kind of communication which we can do. It's very important that we do not forget about our own customer base, because that was the base which gave us the best kind of returns in the pre-COVID periods. That customer base might not be coming on the website right now for the reasons known to all. However, it's important to build strategies to bring them back to our website, because that is the customer which is the most important for you. There are 5 critical elements as I see to bring that customer back to our website. The first one is giving them proactive recommendation on what kind of products and services they can use in this period. Because the consumers are at their home, they might not be in the right state to maybe realize what products are right for them, what they actually want. So looking at those changing trends, which is the second point of my 5 key elements, looking at those changing trends and changing behaviors of our consumers, the product recommendations should be passed on by us. At the same time, some of the consumers might not be ready to accept products right now because of the sensitivity which is there in the environment. So we might want to take their orders with a future delivery date. That's an important aspect, because maybe the consumer wants the product, but he doesn't want it to be delivered right now. So why not ask him to add the product to the cart, but get it delivered in the future date? One of the studies revealed that when the chatbots are there on the website, the consumers are closing their shopping cycles very easily as compared to when the chatbots were not there. Why? Because simply it was very easy for the customer to understand what they want to buy. If they have any problem, they can just simply type on the chatbot and get an answer right away. Which brings me to my fourth point, that having chatbot in these times becomes really important. This point is important for both our own customers and new customers. So if you don't have a chatbot right now, you might want to speak to your tech teams to create one. And if you have it, you might want to check if it's fully functional. All the technical enablements are there so that you can support your customers with the ease of shopping. And the last point, telling the customer then why he needs the product and why this product is important is also a very important element of our strategy. Before we move on to the next section, I want to share something interesting which I came across in the last couple of days. We were doing a study for one of our key e-com players. We realized that earlier, when their product sales were happening, they were happening mostly on Thursdays and Fridays, and that too between 6 to 8 p.m. Interestingly, in this time, their sales are happening on a Wednesday, and that too between 12 to 2 p.m. Interesting, right? So these are small changing trends and insights which we as marketers should be keeping ourselves updated, because all the media mix modeling and all the audience communication, everything needs to be stitched right now with the changing trends and changing consumer behaviors. Thank you so much, guys. I'll just pass on the section to Deepak.
Thank you very much, Krati. That was very insightful. And thanks, Ashwini, for strategically sharing some of the audience communication tips. So I'm going to talk specifically about search engine optimization, and especially for the fact that during these uncertain times, we've seen using the Google Trends data that SEO has actually taken an elevated increase. Only because of the fact that SEO brings you a mature audience, it's a long-term traffic, and then a lot of businesses are considering to invest in that right now because we have that availability of time. However, at Merkle Socrates, our presentation is going to be focused on how can you recover in these uncertain times using SEO as a strategic tool. So let me start by sharing you an anxiety survey that was done by Deloitte. So this survey basically focused on a question based on the current search trends in Google. So Deloitte observed the way Indian customers and worldwide users are searching for information online, and the final thing was how anxious is a country based on its online search behavior. Now, interestingly, India is the most anxious country because I think 43% of the searches were very, very different than before. And in the survey also, 43% said, yes, we are very, very anxious. We are still trying to find information. We are excited. We are actually panicking a little bit. So we want to find out a lot of stuff. And we are still connected to the brand. So on the right hand side, the screenshot suggests, a feature that you can use, which is called an instant search. So when you type "is Flipkart," and if you won't even complete your sentence, you see the trending searches is Flipkart delivering during lockdown. So this basically method, tells you about the recent search pattern in the market, and this also sets the tone of the next couple of sites that I'm going to share about. Which basically tells us that users are still searching, however, searching in a different way. So let's move on to the next slide and let's see some interesting data that we've tried to figure out for you. So as an SEO and a marketing agency, one of the questions that I kept asking myself, and I think we all did, how is Google coping up? I mean, Google is seeing a decline in one type of searches, however, is seeing a sharp increase in other type of searches. So has Google provided some leeway? Has Google throttled the crawling? Is Google now crawling less number of pages? Has Google provided some sort of leeway in terms of their ranking algorithm? Because Google should understand, right, that users are not actively searching about, from a buying intent. They're searching from a exploring intent right now, or maybe an informative intent. So we went ahead and asked this question to Google, and we asked, have they considered throttling the crawling? Have they considered maybe providing us a little leeway on the ranking algorithm? And interestingly, Google said, no, not really. And they said, I think the only thing which is not impacted by this pandemic is the Google bot itself, right? I mean, servers still need to run. The algorithm still needs to happen. And I think that is right, because day before yesterday, Google rolled out a very big algorithm update, which actually makes sense that Google is actually not changing the way they are ranking content. So this answer from Google actually excites me and basically motivates me to continue creating relevant content. My keyword research might change a little bit, which we will talk about in a minute. But I think we still need to stay ahead of the competition by continuing to create relevant content so that we can get rewarded by newness, which is the #1 ranking factor. So you absolutely shouldn't stop optimizing. Keep refreshing your site in some or the other way. We'll talk about that in a minute, but yeah, basically that's the head start for you. All right, so we also went ahead and we basically did some data about the recent search trends, and we interestingly find that there are a couple of interesting searches like how to work from home. I mean, we are all, trying to cope up with this situation. We are trying to find better ways to work from home and, manage our personal time as well as professional time. So searches about how to work from home evolved. Searches about, haircut at home. I am also going to join that league very soon, I think. But this also evolved. Recipes searches has extraordinarily picked up because people are now searching for information. People now want to do things at home. So how to bake a cake, how to do this recipe and all. People are trying to search for things about online meetings. So that has picked up. And of course, all the essential searches like groceries near me, medical stores near me. So your near me searches have absolutely evolved. So we also picked up some other key terms such as online yoga has taken a 700% increase in the last couple of weeks, which means people are still trying to stay fit, and somewhere your content will still be relevant to them. Free courses. I mean, of course, people are trying to best use of their time. They might not to pay all the money right now, so they are looking for free courses. That's another 700% increase over the last couple of weeks. As a country, we were never so hungry about pizza. So pizza delivery has, I think, taken 450% increase in the last couple of weeks. And I think I'm one of the contributors to these searches. So of course, there is still some relevancy about people who are delivering. Repair at home. So for example, the other day I was trying to fix my router. I couldn't call a sales guy, so I was trying to trying to find information online how to fix my router. So I think this brings a very good head start to retailers to maybe not create a content about selling, but create content about servicing, as Ashwini also mentioned in one of his slides. So and also I would like to add some interesting data to back it up. I mean, for example, real estate industry that is poorly impacted because of the situation. However, we found some extraordinary searches a couple of weeks ago. People are now searching for virtual flat tours. Now, this is something interesting, isn't it? So I think the key here for all of us will be to use Google Trends as a #1 tool and try to find out the information that is still relevant to your business. So that's the key takeaway from this slide. Now, another factor that we would, as a group, want to focus is local business. So, of course, right? I mean, people don't want to, travel too far because there is a lockdown. They are insecure a little bit, worried about their health. So they are looking for stuff nearby. And that is where Google My Business, which is a local listing, absolutely is a critical idea in terms of local SEO. So Google has actually updated some of its guidelines and is supporting the businesses right now to cope up with this great pandemic that is unfortunate incidents. So Google has launched a special type of post that you can make in Google My Business, which is called a COVID-19 post. You can look at an example on the right hand side. There is a shopping mall which has posted this. So you can leverage COVID-19 post type. You can leverage the regular posts to keep engaging with your customers. You can look at the reviews, and now is the time to actually learn from your reviews and build your brand. You can update your working hours. You can update a lot of things in Google My Business. And more importantly, if you are not on Google My Business, this is absolutely the right time to do that, because nearby searches have absolutely increased in the last couple of months. So now let's talk about some of the other actionable recommendations that you can use SEO for to quickly recover during this pandemic and still stay relevant. The first one is a quick answer. So sorry if you're not able to see the snapshot clearly, but then basically you would have seen if you search for a question online, then sometimes a snippet like this pops up and gives you an instant answer. Now, this is what your user needs the most of right now. They are searching for stuff online. They need answers of these questions. So the screenshot actually has an answer for home loan monetarium, and this screenshot answers that question. So if you rank like this, I think #1, you will build a incredible brand credibility. And #2, I think people will not go any further down. They will trust your brand. So I think this is one area where you should absolutely invest in, which is called quick answers. These are also called rich snippets. If you invest in this, I think then you will also be investing in voice search, because the way this works is exactly the way voice search works. So if you optimize your content for this, you are actually optimizing your content for voice search, which is also another trend that is going on right now. The next thing in the middle is FAQs. So I think you and I would have seen this in Google. When we search for some information, there is a section on Google search results page, which is called FAQ, that pops up. And this is the section that you should absolutely be looking at every day, every week, every time, to see what people are searching for regarding your business. And this will give you a great idea of how to adjust your content and actually answer those questions, because you have the data in front of you. People are looking for it. So if you start optimizing your FAQ page, if you don't have an FAQ page, absolutely build one and start optimizing. There are great ways that we can share with you to do that. If you do not have a coronavirus page, then set it up. I mean, every business is impacted due to coronavirus, and then people are finding about that for your brand. So set up a FAQ page, set up a coronavirus page, and try to look at this FAQ section on Google and try to rank for it. That is my second advice to all of us. One of the many advices is ranking for videos, and I think Krati mentioned that video consumption has been all-time high in the last couple of months. So, for example, this snapshot is how to make Dalgona coffee, which was an internet sensation, and I tried that but failed miserably. That's a different story. But then I think once you search for this information online, you would want to look for videos, right? You wouldn't want to look for long articles. So if you have videos, if you have videos on YouTube, if you have videos on your page, then there are strategies that you can use to get optimized for these and rank for these, because video consumption is at all-time high, and this is an organic way of ranking your videos on the SERP. So these are the 3 takeaways that you can quickly work upon. Now, I would like to basically sum it up, and this is the slide that you want to make notes about. First of all, do not stop optimizing. We have seen data of our customers, and their industry is impacted due to COVID. However, we are still optimizing for them, and they are picking up impressions. They are gaining that ranking. So even though you have less searches right now, the algorithm is still running. So I think this is a time to beat your competitor, invest on your content, and get at the top. So do not stop optimizing. Maybe for the optimizing, you would need some keyword research. Find a way to use Google Trends, and one of the other tools that you can use is Google Search Console, which is mentioned at the top, the first diagram. So these are the tools that you can use to actually find out what users are searching about your brand and build your content in many ways. The second thing is you can invest in site speed. So we have always talked about site speed in number of forums, and I think internet is filled with resources, and we all know site speed has been the problem for all of us, and this is also a critical ranking factor. So I think now when people are looking for things to load faster, things to happen quickly, this is a time where you should invest in your site speed. Take help of Google Page Speed Insights and Google Developer Forum to find out issues as well as recommendations to improve your site speed, which will actually prep you up for the next point, which is mobile first indexing. So as we all know, mobile first indexing is rolling out for 100% of the web in September 2020. We tried to reach out to Google and try to find out if Google has any plans to push that back, but we didn't get a positive answer. They said we are still rolling out in September 2020 from the last time I heard. So to give you a context of mobile first indexing, if starting September 2020, if you have a different content on desktop and different content on mobile, then any extra content that you have on your desktop will absolutely be ignored. It will not be considered as a ranking factor. So that is why it is called mobile first indexing. So this is a time to invest to optimize for it, and there are strategic ways to do that. The other thing you would want to do is prioritize AMP, which is accelerated mobile pages. A lot of clients are now prioritizing this because this helps you improving your site speed. And now when you actually want to rank quicker, AMP helps you do that. The other thing that you want to optimize for is voice search. So people are at home, they are trying to use, Alexa, Google Home, Siri, and Google Assistant to answer a lot of, get answers of a lot of questions. So I think this is a good time for you to optimize for voice search. And if you optimize for voice search, you are actually also optimizing for quick answers that I showed you in the couple of slides ago. So this is also going to be one of the number 5 strategies that you can take away. And the last thing is, as a site, we always have a lot of development backlogs. We always wanted to do structured data. We always wanted to do schema. We always wanted to do site migration, and we were always panicking about the opportunity loss. This is a brilliant time to invest in your technical SEO development efforts, because I think now you have considerably not that much high traffic, and even if you do, then I think this is the right time to experiment. So these are a couple of things that I would want you to prioritize. The tools that you should be using: number 1, Google Search Console. If you don't have it set it up, this lets you talk to Google. Google Analytics, I think all of us will have it. Look at things such as number of time spent on a page. And one of the recent studies by a brand called ComScore actually revealed that the number of time spent on a page for every kind of business has increased. So users are spending a lot of time on your page right now. This is something that you should be looking forward to also. And the other tool that you should look at is Google Trends, which will give you some real-time information about what users are searching for your brand. So So that's it. Thank you very much. I hope you find all of the 3 sections insightful and you had something to go back with. We have now opened up the question and answer forum. We appreciate you answering a lot of valuable questions. We already have a couple of them, 12, 15 right now. So we will start answering them one by one. We might not be able to answer due to interest of time all the questions. However, we would like you to post your email address because we will get back to you with all of your answers, and we will also send you a soft copy of this presentation. So thank you very much, and we will start the question and answer forum now.
Thanks, Deepak. That was really a great insight and the action items which could be taken from that for the how to improve the SEOs and the investments on the AMPs and the PWAs for the better tech integrations, right? And thanks, Krati, for helping us with the performance media mix. As Deepak mentioned, we are just moving ahead to the Q&A, the questions. We have 12 questions. We'll try to answer as many as of them. The first question says, and this I will ask Krati to help us over here, which says, how do we create a seamless offline to online transition for buyers?
Thanks, Ashwini. That's a good question and highly relevant specifically for the retail or the e-commerce brands. So all these brands always have ton of data stored in their CRMs and their LMS, but that not be available in the rightmost format to be used for the digital media platforms. So I think the first step which brands can do right now is first clean up this data and prepare it in a way that can be used very easily for all the media platforms like your social media, Facebook, Instagram, Google, DV360. Next step should be to create audience segments or cohorts so that you know that which cohort I want to go in which way. And the third and the most important part is to create tailored communication across these audience segments. So one, we clean up our data, create those cohorts, create the communication strategy, and then we create those offline to online strategies right now. I hope that answers the question.
Thanks for the insight and help us understand it clearly. There's a very good question I could see in that. Wouldn't communicating and leveraging in the COVID backdrop backfire on brand reputation, or will it sound as a brand as being opportunist? So as I mentioned previously, the communications in these times, we want to create a communication with our audience about telling them or communicating with them how as a brand, we are thinking about them first. We are creating hygiene and hygiene proof or the zero contact proof delivery, how it will help them in these tough times to manage the hygienic and the sanitization way of living what they are preferring right now. So that is the way of communication and the creative, how we should be evolving more in these times. Definitely, and that's where our consumer forums, listening to our consumers' feedback will also help us to evolve as a brand and continuously feedback into the communication mode with them. I hope I was able to address, and there's another question which seems similar to that. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. What someone has mentioned, that till the time we don't seem opportunist, it should not backfire to us. And that's what, as a brand, my responsibility becomes to serve our customers, not to sell during these times, right? Moving on to another question. Okay, it says, what is the first step to start with ORM tool implementation? For any implementation of any tool or any business strategy, as a first step is understanding our consumers, understanding our audiences. So for ORM also, it becomes very important to understand my audience and which all platforms my audiences are available, which all platforms they are present on. So which all social are, is my audience more on Twitter? Is my audience more on LinkedIn? Is my audience more on Facebook or other social media tools? And then is my audience more on some review sites where I get to see a lot of reviews about my brand or my product? So we need to understand that first and foremost, and then accordingly look out for the tool which help us to implement or integrate all those social medias into it first, and which helps us to create and react faster to our audiences. So I hope that helps us understand with the question. Okay, so this I'll ask Deepak to help us over here how to enhance content relevancy, because the content relevancy will help us a lot in increasing our organic searches and the organic relevancy of the site as well. So I'll ask Deepak to help us address this query, how to enhance content relevancy.
Sure. Thanks, Ashwini. So I think it's a great question, because I think this question is coming from somebody who basically may not be relevant at this situation about what people are searching. I understand that. I think I'll take an example of a retail brand. Yeah, for example, I'm selling television right now. So so like I mentioned, I think the first step to build a content relevancy is to start searching for what users are searching about your brand. And you will absolutely find that users are not searching from a buying intent right now for at least the businesses that are not currently able to sell, like for example retail, for example, which are not able to deliver. So like I mentioned, users are searching about, is Flipkart delivering during coronavirus? How to repair a printer at home? So I think once you start doing keyword research, and that's where your Google Trends and Google Search Console data will help you. So for example, I'll quote an example. We had a client which basically writes a lot of consultation content. And we saw that the client never used to rank for work from home queries. And now the impressions have started to pick up. And we basically learned from that thing. And then we started to invest in a lot of work from home content. And now that client is ranking at #1 for a couple of those work from home queries. So I think you can still build relevancy by doing some keyword research. I think without data, you would not be able to get a head start. So that's what my recommendation is. Look at your current search trend, look at how people are interacting with your brand, and you can look at a lot of tools, and then you can build content relevancy. Another tip is, I'll not take much of time, is to observe how users are looking for your brand. Like for example, for retailers, the searches for pre-order have started to pick up. So I think you can build a lot of content about pre-ordering and what are the FAQs about pre-ordering. For real estate, people are looking for virtual room, virtual flat tours. So I think you can build that kind of content. So I think it will be very, very important for you to do that research first and then build your content relevant to the keyword research. Hope that answers the question. Thanks, Ashwini.
Thanks, Deepak. Thanks. Definitely, it helps us take certain action points from that answer. Krati, come over to you again for another question. What are the effective most way of analyzing and tracking buying behavior in current times? And we could club it up with one more question, which already says, is it the right time for the for the brands to start their media operations?
Sure. So I'll answer the first question, Ashwini, that how do we track or analyze the user behavior, user journeys? I think the first step is to ensure that we have the right tech integration in place, maybe in terms of Google Analytics or DCM tracking. While Google Analytics will help us understand what my user is doing, rather a customer or an audience is doing when they're on the website. Tracking setup like DCMs help us understand much in advance, that before the user even has come to the website, what kind of journeys he's showing, how many times he's interacting with, let's say, a display ad versus a social ad, and then in how many interactions the person is landing to the website, and then what the person is doing. So I think these are a couple of ways you can track the user journeys and user behaviors on the website and in advance before the person lands on the website. Answering the second question that says that should we be doing advertising right now? I think as I covered in my section, there are a couple of inventories right now which are available to you at absolutely cheap CPMs, as low as 50% low than earlier times. So you might want to take those inventories in your media mix so that you can start your advertising. I would not say that we should not do it. We should do it and try to be on the platforms where we know that people will be there, people will be reading about services like ours, products like ours, and maybe the inventory is slightly cheaper than before times, and the right time to build those audiences, so that by spending less you are able to build it right now, and later you can re-engage and retarget all this audience base. I hope that answers both the questions.
That definitely helps us understand. So just to sum it up, we definitely should look at media operations. As mentioned in previously one of my slides, what Krati mentioned, we should specifically look into locations where we are able to reach out to the consumers and build certain considerations as well. Okay, coming to another question, definitely a BFSI specific question where it says, as a BFSI, do we ace our communication during COVID times? Definitely BFSI industry depend which product is it. In the BFSI, the insurance sector is one where people, audiences would be reaching out and understanding more about their policies and the implementation of these current situations or the current diseases which has evolved in this situation. How will they help? So, and this is the right time for the BFSI to go a complete digital mode, where the user human intervention or because of KYC and everything is online nowadays. We could do create a more robust digital journey for a user to go and finish purchases. And the communication should be around definitely building the telling them about, okay, again it depends on not about selling the product, communicating about the benefits by creating blogs, reaching out on the social media, on the group, and the paid medias, communicating in snippets, right? Thank you. Coming to another question where it says, how can we track the audiences from TV ad in the user journey funnel? That's a very important question in these times where we all talk about offline to online, one user view, single user view, right? And as Krati mentioned in one of her slides, right? And I'll let her address this. There's a tool which is available, which I'm sure Krati could help us understand, where she mentioned about Zapper in presentation. That is one tool which could be used about understanding our TV. Do you have something to add over here, Krati?
Yeah, Ashwini. So I think as you also mentioned, I'll extend the answer from that. So tools like Zapper can be used, which are essentially listening, which have the SDK present in the phones of users. So they are listening whenever you are interacting with an ad on the TV, so that they can understand how at what frequency consumers are watching the ads. Not for the brand, maybe for the competition. So one of the, earlier when I wasn't aware about this fact, I was amazed that while maybe someone spoke about a particular brand on TV, how come that particular brand even popped an ad on my phone? So then when I researched for it, got to know that yes, there are tools which are doing this kind of integration. So I think tools like Zapper can be used for such integrations and getting more insights about the audience.
Definitely. Coming to the final two questions, sorry, we might not be able to answer all the same, all the ones in the due to the time constraint. We will just pick up two more. One, where it says, do you think for small or newer brands utilizing this situation is a good time for gain attention? But how is that possible when big brands are pushing so much communication? Okay, so here I would like to talk about the entire brief of the seminar what we had. Where as a brand, definitely we should understand the audience and the tools which we mentioned and which Deepak also shared with us about Google Trends, how the trends of the search is evolving in our products in our category, and we should create content with those searches on our site. So it will help us organically also as a So I'm assuming we are a small, medium segment brand or a neo brand. It will help us organically also to get picked up. And same time, as Krati mentioned in one of her slides, we should be building a little consideration phase right now for our brand and capitalize on the ad inventory being at low cost right now because due to the less competition, the CPMs have gone down for the video inventories and the display inventories by some decent amount of 15-20% down, and we should actually capitalize on gaining those and build those consideration phase of our audiences. So I hope was able to answer this question. Coming to another good question, and here I will take help from Krati and Deepak both. How do you think that brands, the question is about, sorry, I missed the question. So there was a question about a luxury brand actually, which I could see that how a business brand into luxury segment should be helping, should be communicating or evolving in this time, right? So again, definitely your organic and your consideration building funnel becomes an important user communication or a media strategy right now. If in one or two line, if you would take Krati's suggestion on this and just one suggestion from Deepak, what luxury brand should be doing in these times right now?
Yeah, Ashwini, I think as we covered in previous sections as well, looking at the right kind of inventories become really important, and creating those experiences right now for your customer with the right creatives is something which I want to bring up specifically for this luxury brand question, because right now your potential audience might not be looking forward to buy the product. However, if you create those rich experiences in the customer's head, so that he can have that long lasting feel in his head that emotions are created for that product. This is something important which the brand should be looking at, apart from choosing the right inventory. Deepak would like to have your points on that.
Yeah, Deepak,
Yeah,
how a
sure.
luxury brand can tackle the organic part of it, if you can just help us over there.
Sure. So I think all of you rightly mentioned, I think, and it's not a time to go back and push for the sales. I think this is a time to fulfill our corporate social responsibility, and where you actually build a connect with your audience to be, and not what your audience is. So build some messaging about how do you care about your customers right now in terms of being a luxury brand, because if you're a luxury brand, you already hold a lot of value and people are looking at it. So I think that emotional connect with your content is much more required. So I think if I'm a luxury brand, I would say that, okay, this is what you should do in terms of this uncertainty, and maybe try to build some relevance about how can they continue to use that luxury going forward. So maybe if you have a customer which is using one of your luxury items, maybe share something about how to take care of that item, for example. So I'll give you an example. It's not a luxury, but then it's a vehicle, right? I mean, so I got a call from my motor company about how can I take care of my car. Yeah, I mean, that was very touchy, because that helped me build that brand connection. He told me that you shouldn't be using brakes right now. Maybe don't use a handbrake and do stuff like that. Maybe start your car once in a week. So I think that kind of communication is much needed. Hopes that answers the question.
Thanks, Deepak, definitely, and thanks, Kari, for the insightful session. Thanks, guys. I'm sorry we were not able to answer all the questions, but we would love you to drop your email IDs as mentioned earlier by Deepak, and we would like to get back to you with the answers on the questions. And with the email IDs, we would be able to share the soft copy of the presentation as well. Thank you, and we would like to we would like to end the webinar now on the note and help. We hope it helped all the online commerce players to evolve and ace the strategy right now, ace the market. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Deepak.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.